UFC Sao Paulo. These are the full card early predictions and the betting breakdown. This card takes place Saturday, November 4th. I'm going to give you guys my predictions for every fight on the card. Looking forward to getting into it. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. And also note, I will be live for the entire UFC Sao Paulo card Saturday, November 4th, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the fight companion. These are the early predictions. Next Sunday, I'll be dropping the updated full card predictions. So make sure you guys tune into that too. And let's get into the fights. Starting the card off, we have Daniel Marcos versus Victor Hugo. I really love the matchmaking. Hugo's jumping in on short notice to fight Marcos, who's really good. I'm going to go with Hugo. Now, it could be slight recency bias from how he looked on Contender Series, but I think that the grappling onslaught and pressure that Hugo has can give the pretty calculated kickboxer, Daniel Marcos, some real difficulty. I think Hugo's going to pressure Marcos. I do think he's going to get control of him in the clinch, and I see him getting this fight to the floor. And it's not like, if you're talking stand-up, that Victor Hugo's a dead fish. It's not like he can't strike. He's pretty athletic on the feet. It's not like he doesn't have knockout wins. He's got 8 KOs, and then he's also got 9 subs. 24-4 record. Hugo's been doing this thing a very long time. Marcos is 15-0, and he's coming off that fight with Davy Grant that was real competitive. A lot of people felt that it could have went Davy Grant's way. I feel like Hugo's style is going to be tricky for Marcos to deal with. I don't know how Marcos is going to fare with the grappling onslaught of Hugo, so I'm going to pick Hugo to win it. I'm kind of thinking Hugo is live to pull off a submission. Can he get to Marcos' back? That's a big question. How does Marcos defend those positions against a guy with the grappling skills of Hugo? We'll find out. I definitely could see it going long as well. So method of victory, I'd say, is a bit blurry here in this one, but Hugo's going to be the pick. Now, I have not found betting odds for this fight, and I'm going to guess that the odds are going to have Marcos as a slight favorite. I don't think he'll be anything over -150 at open. I could even see the lines flipping, and a lot of people jumping on Hugo's side and him end up being the favorite, you know, a couple days out or on fight day. But I'm going to pick Hugo to win it. I'm going to assume he's a slight underdog here, taking the fight on short notice against an undefeated guy like Marcos. I think Hugo can do it. I fell into the hype train of Hugo a bit. I liked his game on Contender. I think the dude's well-rounded. He's athletic. He's got solid stand-up alongside with the grappling. Sure, I don't think he has the same distance kickboxing game of a Marcos, who's got beautiful kicks right up the center. He moves pretty well. But ultimately, I think Marcos is going to struggle with the fact that Hugo is going to be looking to get this fight to the ground, not just kickbox with him. And that will open things up on the feet for Hugo as well. So we're going Hugo to beat Daniel Marcos in the first fight of the night. I'll call submission, but I also think I could see a decision here between these two. Looking forward to seeing the odds officially drop, but Hugo, I think, will be a slight dog. Next fight on the card, it's Caio Fernandes versus Marc Diakiese. I think that Fernandes is going to win. I'm going to pick Fernandes. And before I started this video, I was listening to how to pronounce Caio Fernandes' name. I still don't know if I'm saying it right, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, the dude's got a good kickboxing game, but also competent jiu-jitsu. And I also feel like Marc Diakiese is just so on and off. He wins 2, loses 2, wins 2, loses 2. He's lost 2 in a row now. Diakiese can use wrestling as, you know, a back pocket tactic to control some guys. But look at the guys he's controlled. Vyacheslav Borshev, who's known for having an extremely limited ground game, okay? And then Damir Hadzovic, who's just limited overall. Then there's 2 losses in a row for Diakiese. Fernandes coming off of a sick high kick knockout where he was a big underdog over in LFA. And that was against a guy who's, 21-5. And then you look here, he gets a KO to the body. The fight was like a minute and a half. Then he had a back and forth loss 2 years ago against Sardinha, who honestly looks like a pretty good prospect, but hasn't fought since that fight with Fernandes. And the first round, Fernandes won. I think that Fernandes can give Diakiese problems on the feet, and I think he's got competent jiu-jitsu where he could end up being dangerous on the floor. I'm leaning the dog Fernandes. I'll pick Fernandes on an upset decision in a fairly competitive fight. Diakiese's definitely a specimen. He's in great shape, but if you don't fall for the trap looking at the frame and like some of the emphatic performances of the past, but a lot of duds, I got to lean Fernandes to win this by an upset decision. I think that Diakiese is okay. So then what? He's going to look to wrestle with Fernandes? I think Fernandes has better jiu-jitsu. I think Fernandes is the better kicker. I think the striking boxing-wise is kind of competitive. I'm going to go Fernandes for the upset win. That's the official early prediction. Plus 169 for Fernandes as the dog. Diakiese minus 194. I'll pick Fernandes to beat Diakiese. I'm not jumping on the Diakiese train, man. I'm long off of the Diakiese hype train. I just think that he's okay at best. He's got 2 losses in a row. Granted, Alvarez is pretty good, and Michael Johnson is a historic journeyman, 20-18. I think Fernandes wins. I'm going to pick Fernandes to get it done. Could be a competitive decision, but watch out for his kicks because they're damn dangerous. Fernandes over Diakiese. I think the kicking skill set will be very effective on the feet, and I think Diakiese's wrestling won't be super effective here, and I could see Fernandes threatening with submissions too. Fernandes for the W. Next fight on the card, we got Lucas Alexander versus David Onama. I got to go with David Onama because of the vicious knockout power that he's shown. But I was impressed with Lucas's striking capabilities that he showed against Steven Peterson last time out. He looked pretty good there. I mean, he picked Peterson apart, and he was a bit of a dog heading into that fight. David Onama's well-rounded, though. As much as I, credit the knockout power and the explosive striking, he's won by submission before. He has decent takedowns. He's strong from top. I think he'd be the trickier grappler between these two. Now, in the striking department, I could see Alexander being slightly more technically polished, but Onama having the knockout power and explosiveness advantage, which I think is really going to carry weight in this fight. Now, if you look at Onama's last fight, he fought Gabriel Santos, who's a really good prospect, brutally knocked him out. Granted, there was moments that Santos was winning that fight with Onama. Just the ultimate KO power came to fruition. He knocked Santos unconscious. Alexander, debut, he lost to Joanderson Brito quickly by sub. Alexander's got all 3 losses by sub as well. So don't be surprised when Onama's looking to turn this more into a grappling heavy fight, even though he's known for the stand-up. I think him clinching up with Alexander, wearing on him against the cage, tripping him to the ground, controlling him from top, beating up a little bit there. I think that then leads to Onama having a lot more options opening up in the striking. Granted, I think Onama could kickbox with Alexander. Alexander's got technical skills. I think Onama will have the durability to take the best shots from Alexander. But on the flip side, if Onama drops some hammers on Alexander, I don't think he can eat them. So I'm going Onama. I'm going to say knockout. I do think he sleeps Alexander. Onama is definitely the favorite in this fight. Minus 205 Onama, plus 175 for Alexander. I'm going with Onama to get it done. I think he'll get the KO here. He's the developing prospect that's flowing nicely. Had a pretty awesome war with Nate Landwehr. Even early in that fight, he had big success. His power is real, and I think he could hurt Alexander, and he can also out-grapple Alexander. So we're going to go Onama for the W. Next fight on the card, we got Montserrat Conejo Ruiz versus Eduarda Moura. Note that Conejo is stepping in on short notice. I think Eduarda Moura is going to dominate her, similar to how Jacqueline Amorim dominated Montserrat Conejo last time. I think that Moura is going to take her down, get on top, and beat the shit out of her. I'm going to say that Moura finishes this fight by submission. She'll get it done earlier than Jacqueline Amorim was able to do here with Conejo. I honestly feel like Moura, too, with the win, I kind of like the idea of her eventually crossing paths with Amorim. That's an interesting stylistic matchup to me. I don't think Moura is outgunned by Montserrat Conejo anywhere. She's the better grappler. She's the taller and longer girl. I think in the striking, she'll be fine. I've never felt like Conejo has this badass striking game. She got decent wrestling. She's strong, but she's extremely limited. She's tough for sure, but I think Moura is going to technically destroy her on the mat, pepper with ground and pound, and then work towards a finish. So I'm going to call Moura to get it done, and I do think that she'll lock up a submission here over Montserrat Conejo. Now, looking at the odds, yeah, they're wide as hell. The Contender Series prospect is expected to win this fight. As of right now, we got minus 420 for Moura to Montserrat plus 320 as the dog. Give me Moura all day long. I think she's pulling this thing off. It should be pretty clean dominance on the floor. Conejo already got ran over by a good grappler in Amarim, and Conejo's known for her wrestling. I think Moura does it easier than that. Moura's got a tricky frame. She's good. That win over Silva dominated her on Contender. Then you can see, running through the regional scene. Conejo, she's 1-2 in the octagon. Beat Cheyenne Vlismas. And then back-to-back losses. Granted, Amanda Lemos loss is never bad. And then Jacqueline Amarim. Not that long ago, though. 2 months ago, she fought Jacqueline Amarim and got dominated on the ground. And now she's fighting another really good grappler. I don't think those holes are going to be filled by the time she fights Moura. So I think Moura by sub. I think she gets it done earlier than Amarim did. Amarim got that third round finish. Next fight on the card, we got Angela Hill versus Denise Gomes. I really sat on this one for a bit. And I'm like tossing and turning on it a little. But something is just telling me you got to go Angela Hill to upset Denise Gomes in Brazil. I feel like she gets slept on all the time, but she's got two pretty marquee wins out of her last 3 fights. Angela Hill beat Lupita Godinez, who's a really good prospect, dominated her in the striking. She beat up Emily Ducote, out-kickboxed her, and Ducote's a pretty decent striker. And then she lost to Mackenzie Dern, and sure, at times her stand-up looked iffy there, but that's because Dern has such a dangerous jiu-jitsu game. When you look at how Angela Hill does against quality strikers, dude, she was competitive with Amanda Lemos. Her kickboxing is really solid. Denise Gomes has great skills, but she's 23, and we really don't know how she's going to do when the competition notch gets turned up a little bit higher. Angela Hill's a proven vet. I feel like Denise Gomes does have good striking pressure, and I think she's going to be in Angela Hill's face, making it a scrap. But I think Angela Hill's got speed, and even at 38, I think she's still in her athletic prime. Angela Hill still got this thing. I think she's going to be striking well with Denise Gomes. I think it's going to be competitive, but you're going to notice that Gomes is at times getting a bit overzealous and wild, and Angela Hill's going to move and counter her with strikes. I'm taking Angela Hill on a decision. Upset in this one. I'm going Angie. I believe in her. Now, Gomes' last 2 wins, awesome. Bruna Brazil knockout, badass. Yasmin Yaraigoy knockout, badass. And a loss to Loma Lukboom, who, just note, Angela Hill does have a win over. Now, not using MMA math here, but I think everybody sleeps on Angela Hill consistently. And she's an underdog here against Denise Gomes in Brazil. Sure, she's got the home field advantage. But I think that Angela Hill's kickboxing matches up real good with Denise Gomes. I think Gomes is going to come at her with pressure and Hill's going to stay moving. And also note, Angela Hill is notoriously durable. She takes a very good punch. I'm picking Angela Hill to get a decision win. I think it's a competitive 3 rounds, but it's one that Angela Hill wins. Plus 125 for Angela Hill. Gomes at minus 145. I think Hill's being slept on. Yeah, we're in Brazil. Yeah, Hill's way older, but 23 is also a baby in this game. Angela Hill at 38. I don't think she's showing signs of slowing down just yet. I still think she's extremely fit, extremely athletic, and I think she can kickbox with Denise Gomes for 3 rounds and get a hard-fought decision win over her. So I'm going Angela over Hill, kill. Overkill Hill. I've said that before, and I was worried Angela Hill was over the hill. I don't think she is, at least not in this fight. I'm going Angela Hill. Upset win. I'm taking her over Denise Gomes. Yeah, she's got good power and pop in her hand. She closed the gap well, but Angela Hill is a seasoned vet that I think wins. Next fight. We got Elizeu Zaleski versus Rinat Fakhretdinov. I'm picking Rinat Fakhretdinov here. I think that he is going to hurt Elizeu Zaleski in the stand-up, but it's also because he's going to be able to take Zaleski down. Notoriously, Zaleski has pretty decent takedown defense rate, but I feel like Rinat Fakhretdinov's wrestling is a different level. I think he can hurt Zaleski with his punches. I think he can threaten him with grappling and ground and pound. I think there's a real chance Fakhretdinov gets a KO. I'm going to predict Fakhretdinov by knockout. He's shown knockout power. He slept Kevin Lee quickly. He dominated Brian Battle in the grappling for 3 rounds. Zaleski's an explosive and dangerous striker with a well-rounded game. He's a long-time vet. But I think it's now for Fakhretdinov, and I really believe in him as a prospect. So I'm going knockout for Rinat Fakhretdinov over Elizeu Zaleski. Now, as far as the odds for the fight, Zaleski is a plus 250 underdog. Rinat Fakhretdinov, a minus 300 favorite. I think this line might get even wider. Yeah, I think Fakhretdinov has this thing. He's a real confident pick. I think he's going to bully Elizeu Zaleski. I see him running him over. We're going Rinat Fakhretdinov for the win. Rinat Fakhretdinov for the finish. He's taking out the longtime vet. Listen, last time the Abu Bakr and Magomedov fight was mad close, and Fakhretdinov's levels above Abu. And then Benoit Saint Denis win. That was awesome and badass. And honestly, I hold that in such high regard. But he's taking on Rinat Fakhretdinov. It's a different level here. Fakhretdinov for the win, and he gets a finish of Elizeu Zaleski. Next fight on the card, we got Elves Brener versus Esteban Ribovics. I'm going to pick Elves Brener to win a hard-fought decision. I think that it's going to be 3 rounds of like a pretty back-and-forth fight, but the advantage for Brener is going to be in the takedowns. He's going to be pressuring Ribovics a lot. Ribovics is going to be throwing a lot of punches at him. I see it as a back-and-forth war. Something that Brener versus Kutatelidze taught me is the fact that Brener does not give up on himself. Even when things look like they're not going his way, he's still coming forward. Even when he looks fatigued, still coming forward. Durable guy, Chute Bucks, Diego Lima team. I think Esteban Ribovics is decent, but it's Elves Brener. The way he broke Garam was crazy to me. I thought Garam Kutateladze was going to run over Elves Brener. And I mean, he was beating him. But the fact that he got crumbled in that 3rd round, it shows Elves Brener has a high output, good gas tank, and 0 quit. Now, Ribovics is a dog too, and they're going to scrap it up nicely. I expect a good 3-round back and forth. If you look, Ribovics last time out beat Kamuela Kirk. But look at the 1st round. Ribovics was getting controlled badly in the grappling department. And then prior to that, he fought Loik Rajabov and he lost the decision. I think Elves Brener pulls it off. Hard 3 rounds, battle of prospects. I'm picking Elves Brener to get the win. I'm going with Chute Bucks, Diego Lima to get the victory. Now, as far as the odds for this one, Brener is a slight favorite at minus 133 with Ribovics at plus 113 as the dog. I like the favorite. I like Brener to win. I like minus 133. I think it's a very competitive 3 rounds, but it's one that Brener shines in. I expect the wrestling difference maker to be a factor. The grappling skill set overall. Ribovics lets his punches fly nicely though. So expect him to keep throwing back and make this a good scrap. I like this matchup a ton, but I got to go with the durability, heart, and constant pressure of Brener to take out a pretty quality guy in Ribovics, who's a young prospect, who also switches stances nicely and chains his strikes together well. But Brenner's going to be closing that gap on him, smother him, take him down, control him a bit, mix it up in the stand-up. Brener, competitive decision. Let's keep running. Next fight is our featured prelim of the night. We got Vitor Petrino versus Modestas Bukauskas. I think Vitor Petrino is going to win by knockout. I think it might be a ground and pound KO. Listen, Modestas Bukauskas is just not an explosive athlete in the slightest, and he's fighting a guy in Petrino who looks like the fucking Hulk. The dude's strong as hell, has crazy knockout power, is 26. He's so young. The constant improvements are going to be evident. Look at the debut, and then look at the next fight. Look at how he fought Anton Turkalj. He looked okay, and then the next fight ran over Marcin Prachnio, who I think is better than Anton Turkalj, and now turning the notch up a bit more. Modestas Bukauskas, a guy who's a pretty decent striker, who's got a well-rounded game, but really isn't that explosive, really isn't too athletic. I think Petrino has him beaten by miles in those areas, and I think he'll put Bukauskas on his back a bit too, and Petrino's going to be way too strong from top. I think he unloads some ground and pound, and I think we got a ground and pound finish for Petrino. That's what I'm feeling here. KO, ground and pound. Now, looking at the betting odds for this one, Petrino's a huge favorite, minus 250. I guess not as big as I thought. I thought it was minus 350. Bukauskas plus 210. You know what? Minus 250 isn't that bad. For what I was anticipating, what do we open at? We were as wide as minus 300. Minus 250 is not crazy for Petrino at all. He's so much more explosive and athletic than Bukauskas. He's a way stronger guy. I think he's developing nicely. I don't think Bukauskas has the speed to avoid the big shots on the feet either, and specifically the clinch and takedowns. It's going to be all Petrino's world. I'm going with the Brazilian prospect. I'm going with Vitor Petrino for a knockout over Modestas Bukauskas, who's coming off a nice win of Zach Paunga, but Paunga's mid as hell. And then beating Tyson Pedro, that was impressive, but it was Tyson food poisoning Pedro, and that was like the worst Tyson Pedro we'd ever seen. I think Petrino can run over Bukauskas in this one, so we're riding with him. Petrino for the win, Petrino for the finish. Next fight brings us to our main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's Caio Borralho versus Abus Magomedov. I'm going with Abus Magomedov. And some may say, bro, you're crazy for that. Look at the odds. He's a huge underdog. Let me talk about this fight for a second. Let's scroll back a few months. Abus Magomedov was in a fight with Sean Strickland that was really close odds-wise. He was a slight underdog, but a lot of people believed Abus Magomedov could have beaten Sean Strickland. And then you watch the fight. I mean, Abus won the first round, but then completely broke in the second. That's a red flag and concern, sure. But he's 25-5-1. The dude is a long-time fighting veteran, has been a highly regarded guy for years. And if you look at his losses, as of recent at the least, they're KO losses. Caio Borralho has a good karate striking style, but he's definitely going to shine more by mixing in grappling, looking for takedowns, controlling on top. He's got very good top game. Magomedov, though, first thing, he's an OV. His grappling defense is going to be there. I don't think it's going to be easy for Borralho to take down Magomedov. Then note, Magomedov, I think, is the better kickboxer from distance. He's got a competent grappling game. He's gone distance before, so I know a lot of people are running off the Magomedov train like, bro, he has zero cardio. He breaks. He's mentally unfit to be there. I think the Sean Strickland fight was just way too big of a step up in competition. Magomedov gave Strickland a hellish first round. We know Magomedov has skills. Can he do it for 3 rounds? Because he's going to have to with Borralho. Because Caio Borralho is no joke, okay? Caio Borralho does have quality southpaw striking game, karate-esque stand-up. He does have takedowns. He does have good control. He's got quality jiu-jitsu. But look at who Borralho is beating for a second, okay? Gadzi Omar Gadziev. Not good. Released after a loss to Abu Nurmagomedov. Arman Petrosyan. Great striker, for sure. And you know what? That's a quality win. I'll give some respect to Arman. Makhmud Muradov, okay fighter, good kickboxing, limited grappling. Michael Olek-Jacek, crazy limited grappler. Abus Magomedov on the other side, you can say, but bro, all he beat was Dustin Stutzus. Fair, okay. Sean Strickland lost, but he did fight the champ. Then you look here, beating undefeated guys here. We got some years off. We got this draw. But you got to run that he got a win over Sabidou C over in PFL, which like a pretty huge win. At the end of the day, he's a former champ there. I'm not saying that Abus Magomedov is the absolute lock of the century, but I think to count him out in this fight and to think that Borralho is going to make easy work of Magomedov in the grappling department when he's a Dagestani fighter, when he does have wrestling, when he's got real good kickboxing, I think Borralho's in for a hell of a fight. I'm going Magomedov on a decision. I'm going for the upset. I don't think the odds are right here, so I'm going against the grain. I'm going the way of Abus Magomedov. Minus 360 for Borralho with Abus Magomedov at plus 295. I'm riding with the big underdog in this one. I felt like it's pure disrespect on the line of Magomedov in what I think is a 50-50 fight. When I looked at this fight, when I made my pick, when I studied it, I'm like, okay, let me look at the lines now. I'm expecting minus 135, minus 110, probably a little bit favoritism towards Borralho because he's, coming in undefeated in the UFC. He's got good momentum. And then I see the tag, and to me, that's crazy. We're looking at Abus Magomedov, who realistically was on the UFC fast track and was put in there against Sean Strickland. And if he would have won, could have potentially been fighting for the world title, to now being a huge underdog against Caio Borralho, who's a good prospect, but he's not proven at a high level at all. Give me Abus Magomedov. I'm going upset. I'm going the underdog. Abus Magomedov to win. I'm picking him here. I think he can get a decision, but he could get a knockout too. His kickboxing is nasty. Let's not forget about Abus just because one loss. He lost to the champion of the world, and now he's a huge underdog against Caio Borralho. That's fake. That's bad. That's not a good look. I don't think Borralho is such a lock. I'm going Abus Magomedov to win. I'm picking him here as a big underdog. I love this side, actually. I'm very excited for this fight. I don't think Magomedov's a washout. Because if Magomedov loses this fight, his chances of ever challenging for a belt in the UFC completely dead. Whereas on the opposite side with Borralho, I would say no, because this is the biggest fight of his life. I think Abus Magomedov wins, and I do think he's got title shot potential. I do think he's a guy that could be in the mix at 185, and I'm not ready to write him off just yet because of a loss to Sean Strickland. So Abus Magomedov, underdog, to start the main card. Next fight, Ismael Bonfim versus Vinc Pichel. No, I'm not picking Vinc Pichel here. I'm picking Ismael Bonfim to absolutely sleep Vinc Pichel. I think this is going to be a pretty one-sided fight. I think Bonfim's stand-up is levels above Pichel, and I don't think Pichel's going to have the wrestling to take down and control Bonfim. And I know there's going to be like 1,000 question marks around Bonfim's grappling after he got ran over by Benoit Saint-Denis. But let's take a minute and recognize Benoit Saint-Denis is an absolute menace in the grappling department. He can wrestle his ass off. His pace is crazy. Vinc Pichel's got decent enough wrestling, but primarily likes to kickbox. I mean, he will threaten with takedowns. He normally does well against strikers. I'll say, if you look at Pichel's record, all of his professional losses are against guys with good wrestling bases. Bonfim, good striking base. But Bonfim is way more explosive. Pichel is 40. To me, it's no-brainer here. Bonfim by knockout. And if he doesn't knock out Pichel, it's over. Call it. Retirement. It's done. Now, not necessarily, but I'll kind of feel that way. I give nearly 41-year-old lightweight Vinc Pichel is beating a 27-year-old Bonfim, then he's a bust of a prospect. I don't think he will. I think Bonfim is going to chin Pichel in the first round. I think it's going to be a destructive display, and I think people are going to jump back on Bonfim's hype train and realize against strikers, he's going to look really good. Bonfim's a big favorite, though. What are the odds? Bonfim is sitting at minus 450. With Vinc Pichel at plus 350. I'm picking Bonfim. Yeah, he's a huge favorite, but honestly, he deserves that tag. He should be a huge favorite here. He's going to absolutely outclass Pichel, who's nearly 41. It's Bonfim, his knockout win. It's emphatic fashion. Let's not forget he knocked out Terrence McKinney. And then Pichel's coming off of a loss to Marco Madsen and then a decision win over Austin Hubbard. Pichel's not a great finisher either. You look, right? Decision. Jim Miller wins pretty cool. But Bonfim's going to chin him. I'm going Bonfim knockout in the first round. Let's keep running up. Next fight on the card. Striker versus grappler matchup. It's Rodolfo Vieira versus Armen Petrosyan. I'm picking Armen Petrosyan. I think Petrosyan can fend off a good amount of grappling attacks by Vieira due to the fact that Vieira's takedown game is not that good. He's got good grappling and awesome jiu-jitsu once he gets a hold of you, once he gets to those positions. But Petrosyan is going to have a good kickboxing base from the outside. He's 6'3". Granted, he doesn't have the reach advantage, but the longer legs. And he kickboxes pretty damn well from the outside. I can see him ripping up Vieira with strikes from distance. I think he can touch him up with the boxing. Vieira is still kind of robotic on the feet, even though he's made some improvements for sure in his stand-up. He got dropped by Cody Brundage, who's turned out to be one of the worst guys on the roster in the middleweight division. And I think that Rodolfo Vieira is taking on an Armen Petrosyan who's just too technical in the striking department, who knows how to mix it up with the punches and kicks well, is very calculated and hard to take down. And I think as good as Vieira's jiu-jitsu is, he's not going to win here. I think Petrosyan's actually going to get the KO. I think he's going to sleep him. I think we're getting a Petrosyan knockout, and I think this is going to add a lot of steam to Petrosyan's hype train. Because look, AJ Dobson decision, Christian Leroy Duncan decision, two pretty well-regarded prospects. And then if you look at the side of Rodolfo Vieira, right, the Cody Brundage fight where he nearly lost, he was in bad spots in that fight, and he got hurt. Chris Curtis lost. And then Dustin Stutzfuss win. Anthony Hernandez subbed him. Then we're looking way back with the Safarov win for him. You look at Petrosyan's loss in the UFC. It's Caio Borralho, who is a way more well-rounded and high-tier prospect than Rodolfo Vieira. At the end of the day, even though I'm picking Abus over him, Caio's really good. Gregory Rodriguez split. That was a sick back and forth. Listen, I'm picking Petrosyan to win, and I'm going to call a knockout for him. Odds are about even. We got minus 125 for Petrosyan to plus 105 for Rodolfo Vieira. I like Petrosyan's chances. Very slight favorite with the way better kickboxing and the competent grappling defense. Give me the kickboxer. Give me the stylish finish. I'm going knockout. I'm going Petrosyan. He's beating the black belt hunter here. Let's get to the featured bout of the night. Okay, it's Rodrigo Nascimento versus Don'Tale Mayes 2. Yes, the rematch that nobody asked for, but we're getting it here in Brazil. And I have a feeling it's because they're trying to give Nascimento a chance to get another finish and kind of push himself towards the rankings to, build the Brazilian heavyweights. Remember on Contender Series, Dana White's like, I need Brazilians. I need Brazilian heavyweights. Nascimento is somebody they're looking to put a little push behind. Granted, he's not all that great. I'm picking Nascimento in this fight to win against Don'Tale Mayes again because I just simply think Don'Tale Mayes is not that good. His stand-up is okay. He knocked out Andrei Arlovski, which that was pretty awesome. It was a nice overhand. But nonetheless, they fought before, and Nascimento was able to take him to the ground and finish him. I don't think Don'Tale Mayes has the wrestling defense, even consistently training at Jackson Wink and involving a bit. I think that he's going to get pressured by Nascimento, and he's going to eventually be put on his back. And I think there is a chance that we see this fight real similar to last time out. I think Nascimento could sub him. Now, could he grind out a decision win? Definitely. Like, if you look here, right, we got the win over Roque Martinez by decision. Less than impressive. Beat Josh Parisian. That wasn't impressive. Hamdi Abdullawaha beat him and then tested positive for roids. It was a close fight. Augusto Sakai dominated him for 3 rounds. Sakai's kind of a similar frame Brazilian to Nascimento. And then we got him knocking out Arlovski. With Nascimento, lost to Chris Daukaus. That was after his win of Don'Tale Mayes. Chris Daukaus knocked him out in 40 seconds. Bad loss. And then Balde, no contest. It is what it is with that one. He was winning that fight, though. And then Tanner Bozier, you look there, he gets a split decision win over. And then Ilir Latifi with the, split decision win there. I think Nascimento is a guy that, shows finishing potential in a no contest here. And it's like, I think that he has the tool set overall to beat a Don'Tale Mayes. I don't think that he's working towards being a world title challenger, but with the competent MMA game, decent enough stand-up, I think Nascimento can kickbox a bit, a little bit better than Don'Tale, and he's got the jiu-jitsu edge. So give me Nascimento by sub, but I think this fight looks similar to the last one. Minus 205 for Nascimento, plus 175 for Mayes. I don't understand this rematch. I don't get it, okay? Could we not have found somebody else for Nascimento and or Mayes? This is not a fight that we're clamoring at the bit as fans to see a rematch in. It is what it is. Nascimento, sub, he does it again. Next fight on the card, it is our co-main event of the evening. It's Gabriel Bonfim versus Nicolas Dalby. I'm picking Gabriel Bonfim, and I think he's going to submit Nicolas Dalby. Now, I know a lot of people are like, yo, but Dalby's never been finished. True, but steroided up Jesse Ronson submitted him. Yeah, it was a no contest, and it got overturned because Ronson was popping the good shit, and he was an absolute monster in that fight. And I think that Bonfim can definitely submit Nicolas Dalby. Listen, Dalby is like Mr. Well-rounded, but doesn't do anything great. He's like the king of none, but he's good at everything. He's a real-life generalist. He's a strong guy that's pretty physically fit, okay enough stand-up. He's decent. He's durable, so he's going to be able to come forward on guys. But I think Gabriel Bonfim is the better kickboxer, has the grappling advantage, way younger. He's 12 years younger. He's got way higher of a ceiling in MMA. And I think Bonfim's going to submit him. I think Bonfim's going to put that staple on this one and actually get some more hype building on him. Because look, Bonfim comes in. Munir Lazez takes him out, easy sub. Trevin Giles, easy sub. He's going to sub Dalby too. Just because he hasn't been finished by submission outside of the Jesse Ronson no contest doesn't mean he can't. Win over Salikov, old man Salikov, and Dalby out-pressured him and, still had more juice in the tank. Still was able to throw more shots and bring volume. Warley Alves, split decision. Warley Alves got killed by Ikram. And then Claudio Silva, it's not even an impressive decision. I mean, it's a win, though. It's not shit on him too bad. Tim Means, he lost there. Tim Means is pretty good. Then controversial win over Rodriguez. He didn't win that fight. Gabriel Bonfim is going to win, and I think he's going to get a submission too. And I think this is the co-main event. They have it go exactly how they want it because Bonfim is the Brazilian welterweight that they're looking to build. Come on. We know what it is. Bonfim, the Bonfim brothers both to win on this card. Gabriel Bonfim to really showcase his skills and I think move into real-life contendership. He's getting close to that top 15 with a win here. Minus 350. Bonfim, he's a huge favorite. He should be. Plus 285, Dalby. I think this is Bonfim all day. Win by submission. He's going to threaten with strangles. He could grab a rear naked. He could grab a guillotine. I know he's got these good guillotines, and we're seeing it here. What do we got? The Von Flu there. Dars. He's good with his front chokes, but I could see him even getting Dalby's back and beating him up. Nonetheless, Bonfim by a strangle makes a ton of sense to me here. I think he's tapping out Dalby, and I think Bonfim really's got the goods as a prospect. So let's go. 26-year-old Savage. Main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We got Jailton Almeida versus Derek Lewis. Short notice replacement. Derek Lewis replacing Curtis Blades. Granted, he had some adequate time to prepare. Listen, Jailton Almeida's levels above Derek Lewis in the grappling department. I'm picking Jailton Almeida. I love Derek Lewis. I picked Derek Lewis as an underdog last time out when he beat Marcos Rogerio de Lima, and that came to fruition beautifully. But damn, you fight de Lima. I'm like, oh, this is a good stylistic matchup for Lewis. He can get back in the mix. And then you give him Jailton Almeida, who's an absolute master on the ground. He's an athletic specimen. The dude is jacked beyond belief. He's strong as fuck. And when he takes you down, he is going to finish you off. Derek Lewis, though, right? We can look at matchups where he's gotten wins against grapplers, specifically Curtis Blades, knocked him out with a big uppercut. But it's not like he hasn't been put on his back and dominated before. Sergey Spivak took him down with relative ease from the clinch and finished him. Jailton Almeida will take down Derek Lewis with relative ease from the clinch, and he will finish him off too. I think that Jailton Almeida is a prospect to keep an eye on. I think Derek Lewis right here is the true opponent in Brazil. Now, it's awesome to have such a knockout artist for Jailton Almeida because if you're sitting in the stand-up playing around with Derek Lewis, he can turn your lights off. But I think Jailton Almeida is going to get this fight to the ground pretty fast. I don't think it's in the first 5 seconds, but wouldn't be surprised if there's a takedown which ends Jailton Almeida on top in the first minute or less. Like, I could see it in 45 seconds. I think he's going to be patient early, look to close the gap, and get the Black Beast on his back. Derek Lewis has got hammers in both hands. He's an incredible knockout artist, but on the ground, right, he uses a lot of physical strength to get back up to his feet. When you have somebody with the technical knowledge and the physical strength like Jailton Almeida, those type of, I'll say, mishaps are honestly going to lead to his ultimate demise. Jailton Almeida is going to get the submission. I think he's subbing up Derek Lewis. He's going to dominate him on the ground. Arm triangle is live. Rear naked choke is live. It wouldn't be crazy if he ground and pounded him from mount to the finish or back mount for the finish and had him flattened out. I think it's Jailton Almeida to get it done all day. I'm going Jailton for the win. I'm going finish win. And I think it's in the first round. He's a minus 475 favorite over Derek Lewis, who's a plus 375 dog. As much as I love Derek Lewis, I can't really argue with the lines because he's taking on somebody that is significantly better in the grappling. And I think that Derek Lewis is going to end up on his back pretty early in this fight and get ran over. Like, what holes has he closed since the Spivak fight where he got ran over by sub? Then Pavlovich, straight hands, knockout. Tuivasa, back and forth striking match where he got the knockout. Slept to Chris Dawkins, but come on, man. Different level. Danilo Marquez was a good grappler. Jailton beat him. Dominated Parker Porter with these. Anton Turkali, fast sub. Shamil Abdurrahimov finish. And then Jairzinho Rosenstruik, who I feel like is, Derek Lewis's next opponent. I've always been saying I want to see Jairzinho Rosenstruik and Derek Lewis. You know what? This kind of works out now because Jailton's going to run over Derek Lewis similarly to how he ran over Jairzinho Rosenstruik, gets the finish, and then you match up those two strikers. Jailton Almeida's on the title track. I think that he's heading into the upper echelon of heavyweight with the finish here, and I can see him working towards incredible fights. Can you imagine Jailton Almeida versus Sergey Spivak? Jailton Almeida versus Tom Aspinall. Potentially, if John Jones sticks around, him versus Jailton Almeida is something that I would dream to see. Don't know if the stars are going to align for that, but we can only hope. Jailton Almeida to win the main event. That is UFC Sao Paulo. The early predictions. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm glad I got to drop some early picks. Last time we had an off week from the UFC, I didn't do early picks, and then I was pissed. So those are the early predictions. I'm glad you guys have them. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown. Make sure you guys smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe to the channel. Keep it locked in. Turn the post notifications on. Put them on all. Don't just leave them on personalized. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the picks. I want to hear what you guys are picking. Early picks, bets, parlays. Let me know in those comments. And if you got nothing to say in the comments, if you just enjoy the content, as always, drop a W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. I appreciate you all tuning in. I still got a slew of content dropping all week. I'm dropping the Fury versus Ngannou predictions. I got off-week money line, live streams Tuesday, Thursday. Obviously, I'll be doing a fight companion for the Fury Ngannou card. So it's still an action-packed week of content on the channel. So keep it locked in right here at MMA Experts. Much love, my people, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, everybody.